So the Vikings have a backup quarterback now, Sean Mannion, who has played almost none at all over his 4 years in the NFL and is tall. That's my scouting report on Sean Mannion, everyone. I mean, what do we know about Sean Mannion? Someone who has interviewed him before said that he's a good interview. So I'm excited about that.
You love backup quarterbacks, and you love good interviews that come from backup quarterbacks because they do know the game really well, and they're great at explaining it.
It's an extreme journeyman quarterback bias on my part.
Mm-hmm.
But they often do become like assistant coaches and assistant quarterback coaches for the starter a lot of times. So you have to get somebody that's really smart and experienced. And Sean Mannion has been with the Rams. That means probably zone system, lots of play action and rollout. So he'll be familiar with what Kirk Cousins is going to do with this offense. So you have to weigh how smart is this guy? How much can he help Kirk Cousins? How much can he help with the scout team? All those sorts of things that they bring. But then, like, if Kirk Cousins goes down, can the guy play? And that's where my biggest question would be. He has almost no experience actually playing in games. And when he does, it's not very good. So is he in a competition with Kyle Sloter? Will they roll with these three quarterbacks? I'm not sure. I would guess that they probably roll with three quarterbacks, and Kyle Sloter will have a chance to beat out Sean Mannion in the preseason. But I think that even signing Sean Mannion kind of shows you that they view Sloter as a developmental type guy.
How much longer is he going to be a developmental prospect, though? He's going into his third season. It's kind of like, when are you going to cut bait? I think, honestly, from everything I've heard, Rick Spielman really likes this guy. And he's been stubborn to a degree on guys that he wants to hold on to. He wants to be right about certain prospects. Kyle Sloter being one of them. They brought him in before, they brought him in to be on the practice squad. They were able to get him from Denver.
Yep.
And then they elevated him to the active roster once Sam Bradford went down. It was a good contingency plan. I tend to think that Kyle Sloter, the reason they've kept him around so long is because of that, but also he probably has as good of a chance, truly, as Sean Mannion to win this backup job. We don't, just because the guy's had one start and 9 other appearances, and all we know of Kyle Sloter is that he was decent. I'm not going to put great. Say decent to good in the preseason.
I'll agree with that.
Who was he playing against? It's the 3rd and 4th preseason games. It doesn't take that for what it's worth. So I think that they're in a very tough spot here. If there's any franchise out there that knows the importance of good depth at quarterback, it's this team. You're not going to necessarily find your next Case Keenum in either of these guys, but they didn't really know what they had in Case Keenum either. I mean, I think that's fair. You have to play devil's advocate here. I mean, yeah, he panned out really well, and they signed him to a 1-year deal, but this doesn't give me the same type of security as finding a guy like Trevor Siemian does. Not at all.
No, it doesn't. And Siemian was their first choice to bring back, and he decided to go to New York, which I still put under the category of things that make me go, that's interesting. He decided to take basically the same money to go somewhere else where he didn't live before and work with someone else in his quarterback room. Anyway, as far as getting somebody who you could count on to be that 500 quarterback, if your guy goes down for 6 games, they don't have it. That's always the thing that you want, is a backup. And I thought Brock Osweiler might be on their radar for this reason. I guess he still could be. But like somebody who could come in and go 3-3. That's what you're really looking for. Case Keenum was that guy. He was somebody who had enough ups with Houston to think, okay, well, if we've got to play him for a few games, if Sam Bradford's knee flares up a little and not for like 15 weeks of flaring up, but if he has to miss 4 games, Case Keenum can go 2-2. That's what you were signing him for, because the Vikings felt they made a mistake in having Sean Hill continue to be Teddy Bridgewater's backup, because Sean Hill couldn't play 4 games. It just couldn't happen. Like, he could play 1, but then he had to sit out the next day's practice with arm soreness. It was like,
well, he was like 38 years old.
Yeah, right. He's just like, this guy can't take over. So they knew that Case Keenum could. They never expected that he'd go 11-3 as a starter. Or, yeah, I mean, the Chicago game, he won too. So basically like 12-3. They never would have expected that. But with Sean Mannion, you have no idea.
You have no expectations for any of this group. And I think the only thing that gives you any sense of solace is the fact that Kirk has started 64 straight games.
Yeah.
That durability factor is important. But if the offensive line is anywhere in the form of it was last year, and he gets hit as many times as he does, can you really count on that? I don't think so. And so that to me is a little scary because you just don't know. It's a gigantic question mark. And yeah, backup quarterback battles are always fun to cover in camp. This one's actually going to be very important.
Yeah, it will be.
Despite the fact that Trevor Siemian never got into a game last year, and we never had to see what that situation would have panned out to be had Kirk gotten hurt, you just don't know. And I just don't think that's something, given their experience with what happened with Teddy Bridgewater and what happened with Sam Bradford, you just don't want to risk that. And right now it seems like they kind of are risking that.
I think so